Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So today we're going to be once again talking about the disaster that is Star Wars Outlaws. This is a game that Ubisoft ensured to its shareholders will succeed because they claim it is highly praised by players and critics alike. However, as more trailers and gameplay have been revealed, the reaction from gamers has been extremely negative. It's not just the woke stuff that's in this game, the gameplay itself looks really bad. Now, what do you do when gamers are leaving very negative reviews and impressions of your game? Well, you bring in the game's journalists to help bolster the reputation of this game. You've seen many journalists like those at IGN come forward to talk about how good of an experience it has been with the early access of this game. However, that has not been enough. Ubisoft has gone further by now giving kickbacks to many different YouTubers and content creators to likely leave positive reviews for this game in its early access. This is something that's been reported by That Park Place. You can see the title here. Ubisoft buttered up YouTubers and influencers with trips to Disneyland and boat tours to promote Star Wars Outlaws. Obviously, this raises a very interesting conversation, so let's get into the article here. So, as a part of this promotional effort for Star Wars Outlaws by Ubisoft, they have gone on record through their CEO saying that this is the biggest marketing campaign ever for a Ubisoft game. In fact, as reported by a popular German YouTuber here, part of that promotional effort is giving these lavish trips and gifts to content creators while they also give them early access of this game to review, which leads to a lot of interesting questions and concerns. Number one, this sounds a lot like the reason Gamergate started about a decade ago. That started largely because gamers were tired of games journalists leaving and creating biased reviews of games where it was heavily implied or very obvious that they were getting early access and other kickbacks with the intention and the goal of producing positive reviews of these games, and that cycle will continue. And the problem with that is that gamers felt like they were getting misled on these reviews. They were seeing these very positive reviews of these games. They expected the game to be good, and then they would be disappointed. And that was really the essence of why Gamergate started in the first place. But of course, they are journalists and they actually have ethical standards, if they're actually applied. With influencers and content creators, they don't have those sorts of standards. You're not supposed to get anything that's really beyond what's necessary. So if you're a journalist, you're only supposed to get the early access so you can do the early access reviews. Anything beyond that becomes unethical. However, with YouTubers and streamers, they don't have that ethical standard, which leads us to situations like this. So let's see some of the incentives being given out. So Cyberpunk, the German YouTuber we're talking about, shared footage from British influencer and YouTuber Louise Julie, who revealed she was brought to Los Angeles by Ubisoft early and was taken on a boat tour that she claims was originally a whale tour to see if we could spot any whales. She added, so basically they invited a bunch of UK creators who got there early because of our flights were booked early because it's a very long travel time. It was like a 12-hour journey. So paying for not only these tours, but also their international flights as well. On top of that, another case here where an individual named Chewy reported in their own tweet, they said, Ubisoft and Star Wars flew me out to California to play Star Wars Outlaws, interview the game director and lead writer, and meet the cast. I am beyond grateful for this opportunity. VIP tour of Disneyland tomorrow. Now, there's many other posts containing content creators sharing some benefits they have received from Ubisoft conveniently right before they made their reviews of this early access to the game. And this is something that some of these content creators are trying to deny. You can see the one content creator that was mentioned here, Louise Julie, who has denied in a pinned comment that she was in any way paid by Ubisoft or anyone else to make that video, her review of the early access to Star Wars Outlaws. However, as pointed out in this article, yes, you didn't get a direct financial incentive. However, you enjoyed the benefits of early access, a free international flight, a VIP experience to Disneyland, and also a whale sighting tour. Of course, that is going to have some level of an influence on your review of that game. It really is just human nature to do that. And this raises the issue in the comparison of an explicit advertisement versus an implicit advertisement. Explicit advertisements are very clear. Okay, I've done many different sponsorships on this channel. You know when it's happening because I click the option on my video to show at the beginning that this video contains a paid sponsorship. However, with implicit advertisements, you don't know that you're watching something that is likely influenced by the brand involved. In this case, how are they going to give a fair review of this game when they're also receiving all these kickbacks from Ubisoft? That is the issue, because honestly, with all these kickbacks they're getting, it looks like this is an implicit ad for Star Wars Outlaws. And this is not something, based on my understanding and a lot of other people's understanding, this is not something they have to disclose. They are not under any sort of requirements, at least legally or through YouTube, to disclose these sort of kickbacks they've been getting. They don't have to mention these. They don't even have to click on the option that this is a paid advertisement. They can just go without mentioning it at all. And that's the issue. They now are giving these positive reviews, and people are largely unaware of all these things Ubisoft has been doing to butter up their review. And on top of that, as Mark Kern points out here, he is a longtime veteran of the gaming industry. He said this practice is very standard and very popular, where it's called a soft buy, where basically these large studios will take a bunch of press and influencers and wine and dine them, take them to exotic locations, give them some free merch and gifts, all with the assumption that this will lead to a positive review of their product. And that is just human nature. When someone is giving you a lot of gifts and treating you really well, you are more likely to view them favorably, or the product that they are associated with. So here's a good example of that. If I came to you, the viewer, and said, hey, I'm going to give you early access to a video I'm going to release publicly in a week, and I want you to review it, but before you review it, let me give you a trip to Disneyland. Obviously, that would influence most people's decisions when it comes to reviewing that video. They would probably view it much more positively after getting all these kickbacks, not just the early access, but also all the kickbacks that are associated with it, like the trip to Disneyland, which is also present here with this Ubisoft case. And really, this whole thing boils down to a need for more transparency, and that is a big concern. When you don't have transparency, you don't really have any trust. And one of the YouTubers in question here, who was a part of this Ubisoft campaign, named Pete Smeets, who has over 2 million subs on YouTube, they admitted that they had a third party reviewing this video and approving of it. So eventually he had to take down his early access review, which was an hour-long video, like I said, to a very big YouTube channel. It was taken down, and Peter would leave a comment on YouTube on the community post saying, "Hi, Peter here. We've taken the Star Wars video offline, not because we wanted to sweep something under the carpet or anything, but because it should have never been published and we don't want it on the channel. We'll talk a bit more about this on the next Pete Cast episode. I'm sorry." And adding further to that, he would add another comment on YouTube saying, "I completely understand the arguments that were made here, and that was not correct. I had the opportunity to play the game for 4 hours, and it was edited into a hour-long video. As part of the review process, the entire video was thrown back to us, and an intermediary agency, not Ubisoft, asked for a lot of changes, especially to the wording at the beginning. But since I personally thought the game was really cool, I didn't see it as a big problem. This was a huge miscalculation." And then adding further, "Sorry, you don't have to pre-order a game, of course. You can buy whatever you like with your money. I absolutely enjoyed the version I was shown. The process behind it was for the ass, and I'm sorry that we didn't print more against it, but let ourselves be beaten open or wide open. Big sorry for that." So in the same vein, they're trying to, I guess, still incentivize and encourage people to go out and pre-order this game, which is a very costly one, by the way. But overall, this seems like a pretty big violation of their viewers' trust. If it wasn't for this video getting taken down by this third party, nobody would have known that it was subject to this additional review process from a third party, which seems very disingenuous if you're trying to give some sort of an authentic looking review of this game. And also saying this is the responsibility of a third party and not Ubisoft, I think that's pretty disingenuous, right? Because why would they be doing these things for these reviews without being under the direction of Ubisoft. Obviously, they are working as an intermediary for Ubisoft to help promote this game. I think that's pretty dishonest to try to frame it like that. And really, again, this all goes back to trust. I think there's a big violation of trust here. Again, they're not journalists, they're not held to some sort of ethical standard, but it makes their reviews look very dishonest in what they're trying to do. It seems like this is an implicit advertisement for this game that is being influenced and controlled by Ubisoft. And on top of that, it doesn't just hurt the trust with this channel, it hurts the trust with anyone reviewing this game. If you've seen the material contained within my video today, you are likely going to look at any positive review, especially an early access positive review of Star Wars Outlaws, as likely the influence of Ubisoft in what they've been giving them in terms of kickbacks, trips, what have you. It's hard to trust any positive review at this point because it seems like it's all forced. You're kind of poisoning the well. It's not just the trust that's lost in your community. Pretty much anyone doing something that resembles your video and review is now also going to have a cast of doubt on it because of what you've done. But anyways, that has been a pretty interesting discussion, I think, about how Ubisoft is using this marketing campaign to influence the influencers who then influence you to go out and pre-order or buy this game eventually. And yeah, there's a lot of ethical questions here, and I'd like to hear your thoughts about that in the comment section down below. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.